Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the continuation of a meeting originally held on September 4, 2018 of the Joint Review Board of the City of DeKalb, DeKalb County, Illinois, Central Business District Redevelopment Project Area, September 7, 2018. Call the meeting to order, and I'd like to start with the roll call with Jason Michnick.
Kishwaukee College, Mr. Nicholas.
Here.
DeKalb School District 428, Ms. Carpenter.
Here.
DeKalb Township, Ms. Johnson.
Here.
DeKalb County, Mr. Hanson.
Here.
DeKalb Park District, Ms. Collins.
Here.
Public member, Mr. Hayes.
Here.
And City of DeKalb, Mayor Smith.
Here.
All present.
Prior to moving on with the agenda today, as printed, I'd like to remind anyone in the audience who would like to speak to the Joint Review Board this afternoon to fill out a speaker request form. We've already had a couple of folks do that, and we'll get you on relatively quickly because that's basically after the approval of our minutes, we will have public comment. Let's move on to item C, approval of minutes from August 17, 2018 and September 4, 2018 meetings. Motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Jason, these were prepared, I believe, by you. Any comment?
Yes, I actually, there was some minor corrections. Mr. Hayes' last name is spelled incorrectly. I corrected that, and then there was a typo in the August 7th minutes, so corrected minutes are provided to you all right now.
So the minutes that we have before us are those corrected minutes, okay?
Correct.
There's been a motion made and a second to approve the minutes as published and as printed. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? So move. We now move to public comment. We have two people, and the first one is Jamie Craven, Superintendent of District 428. And if you could use the podium, please. Anyone who'd like to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Honorable Mayor Smith and members of the Joint Board Review. As Superintendent of Schools representing District 428, I respectfully request that you suspend this Joint Review Board and allow a minimum of 30 days for the respective taxing bodies to further review previous TIF district allocations and discuss and agree upon a set of criteria for moving forward. After multiple meetings and exchanges, it's clear that we are not collectively prepared to move on the establishment of TIF number 3. The school district, however, wants to support, with conditions, the implementation of a new TIF district and further development in the city of DeKalb. But again, we request a minimum of 30 days to discuss past TIF district practices, to discuss specific parameters for the proposed TIF 3 district. 30 days allows ample time for the city staff to meet their proposed deadlines while allowing time for the respective taxing bodies and city staff to work through the details of pending issues which we have provided and cited. Mayor Smith, I ask that you sincerely consider this request as we all work together in the best interest of taxpayers who, as we are all gathered here today, all of us have been sworn to faithfully and fairly represent. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes, we will respectfully consider that request. However, prior to any motion to that effect, which may or may not be made, we would like to continue with two other speakers who'd like to address the Joint Review Board. The next one is Mark Charvat.
Good afternoon. I do have a question first off regarding the membership of the board here. Mr. Hayes is our public member of the board, and I'm just curious because he does own a business in TIF 3, and since we're talking about TIF 3, I'm not certain whether it is apropos that he be voting on any issue. Now, granted, I had a conversation with Mr. Hayes yesterday, and I brought up the discussion regarding this. I know he does not own the building, but he does have a business within one of the buildings contained within TIF 3 as it stands right now that would stand to possibly benefit from any TIF dollars that could be further allocated to that building in the future. So just a point of reference here, I don't believe if there is a vote taken on whether to approve TIF 3 or not that Mr. Hayes should be voting on this. Also, can someone please explain to me the rule that states that the at-large member of this board must reside in the TIF district? Can anybody address that?
I can address that. Because of the housing impact study that was done with the proposed TIF 3, there is a requirement that the at-large member, the public member on the JRB, when considering that district, is required to be a resident of the district,
Requirement by whom?
per the Illinois TIF Act.
Okay. Let me point out a study by the Journal of Urban Economics, and I'll be honest, I'm not in favor of creating yet another TIF. A study by the Journal of Urban Economics found that cities that adopt TIF experience slower property value growth than those that do not. The authors suggest that this is due to the reallocation of resources to TIF districts from other areas of the city. The result is that TIF districts grow at the expense of the municipality as a whole. This is an example of TIF working on paper, but because it is pilfering growth that would otherwise have occurred in other areas of the city, it doesn't really make sense. We've seen, and I appreciate Mr. Craven bringing up the fact that there are issues with TIF 1 and TIF 2 that do need to be re-examined, and I fully support his stance as far as delaying this action, at least for another 30 days, so further investigation can be done. That being said, I believe this town and its mayor seem to think the citizens of DeKalb are clearly focused on downtown. That is absolutely wrong. You may seem to believe that, but we are focused on our neighborhoods, our streets, and crime, other issues that are close to us. Downtown is more or less window dressing. We love having a lovely downtown, but the taxpayers simply cannot afford to keep providing money for these pet projects. It always seems to be that some well-connected downtown business people talk to city officials into giving them money to put in new awnings and help out their friends who have issues with sewers. That's a big issue that happened a few weeks ago, where an individual in this town who owned a business downtown managed to talk to one of the aldermen and somehow managed to get the city, and hence the taxpayers, partially through TIF, to fix his sewer issue. That was not good. You set a precedent that is just absolutely ridiculous. Some of you have brought up problems with how the money from TIF 1 and TIF 2 have been spent. The money allocated for the sewer project, as I mentioned, benefits one business. It doesn't benefit the entire community. TIF is supposed to benefit everybody. The city, I do remind you, was supposed to end TIF districts, and then it came before council, and somehow city staff managed to finagle a new TIF district when we were supposed to end an old TIF district. I appreciate the fact that the school district and the park district and school district, park district, and the county both voted in favor of the resolution that was brought forth at the last meeting to put the kibosh on this, and I hope that we will not continue to hurt the taxpayers anymore. I encourage, if you do vote, a no vote on TIF 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Bessie Chronopoulos?
Good afternoon. Again, many questions and concerns are being posed, and that's good. This is a healthy kind of a thing to do. I'm not saying I'm agreeing or disagreeing with what has been said, but it is important that the JRB realizes that there are many, many questions still hanging out there and many, many concerns surrounding TIF. Yes, TIF 1 and TIF 2, and certainly TIF 3. This information regarding TIF, how administrative monies have been expended, how records have been kept about previous TIF projects are among some of the concerns. For several years, at least one alderman has been begging for such information to come forward, and it has not. The city of DeKalb has not done a very good job of keeping its own city council informed, much less the JRB. And the JRB, I think, as I have stated before, should be utilized more often. They should meet more often so that they can be informed on a continual basis what is happening with TIF, how information is followed up on, and so on. One item, and I'm going to be as exact as I can be, and again, I'm not a numbers person, but I am told, it is my understanding, that administrative fees have been charged on various TIF projects anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000 a year. I think we need an accounting of where those administrative fees have been expended. Where in the city budget have they been expended? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and it is not clear at all. And as has been said, and as I've talked to the mayor on several occasions, this is an issue that can be solved, but it has to be a we kind of a situation. You need all of the entities to be working together, and the entities need to be informed. That's what transparency is. It's not just a word, it is an action. Information. Hold fast and get that information. Don't settle for anything less. And there are other options. I know there were some folks who spoke last time about the historic McCabe's building and so on. Great. It's nice to develop and to redevelop all of that, but perhaps there are other options other than TIF that can incentivize programs like that. For example, enterprise zones, where you don't have to engage TIF. And finally, if we're going to expand TIF in any way, shape, or form, I can think of other locations where TIF would indeed enhance a blighted area. The entryway on, where are we here? South 4th Street. Perfect example of where TIF can be expanded to enhance a blighted area. So, some things for you to think about. Please ask questions. Don't be shy. You are here to represent your particular entity, and you are accountable to the elected officials who have placed you here, and they are accountable to the public. Thank you.
We've had our three members of the public who have indicated they would like to speak. Interestingly, all of those point out to something that I think we must have discussion on, and that is we have the initial request, and the request alluded to that we should continue discussion. So I will open it up now for any motion to that effect or for any further discussion on what their public has said or what we were talking about just several days ago on September 4. Mr. Nicholas, if you'd use the mic, please.
Yes. Thank you. Can you hear? Can everybody hear? I'm thinking about what Superintendent Craven posed to the board, and I believe that the impulse of the board at the last meeting earlier in the week was a good one to continue the meeting of the JRB until such time as we had all the facts and all the data that we needed. I gather that there is more to be found and to be shared, so I will move, just for the sake of discussion, that we continue this meeting to a point in time to be determined by the board.
Been moved. Any second to that motion?
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we continue this meeting for a period of about 30 days. Any further discussion? Mr. Hanson.
Thank you. I'll just chime in that I would encourage support of continuing this. It's something we have advocated for in the last couple meetings, and we appreciate the mayor now supporting that, and we think some productive things certainly can happen in the next 30 days. So I'm certainly in favor of that motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we move our next meeting, we continue this meeting until a period of about 30 days from now. Yes, Jenny.
I too support that. It seems entirely reasonable.
It would also be useful, I think, to provide some kind of strategy on what we can expect to how to approach that information in that time, so that we don't come back 30 days from now in the exact same position that we're currently in, saying that there needs to be more information. So if you could maybe help us understand that.
Absolutely, and I think I alluded to the fact at our meeting a couple of days ago that what we need to do, what I hear our public commenters saying, is that we need to address some of the issues that have been brought up, and that we do that within that 30-day window, so that when we come back in 30 days, hopefully we will be in a position to take a look at TIF 3 as it relates to what this JRB is mandated to do. Now, what format that takes, I don't know. I don't know whether or not that's the city calling a meeting of all taxing bodies, whether it be one of the taxing bodies to say, we'd like to call a meeting and we are inviting all of the members of the JRB. I'd certainly be open to any suggestions. I have no foregone conclusion on how that might be. But if nobody steps up, I'll tell you the city of DeKalb will step up, and I will in fact ask that members of the taxing bodies akin to the JRB meet. Yes, Bill?
I'm going to take a stab at how we can get that.
Okay.
So that the public and all of us can have something to look forward to. The JRB appointed the mayor as chair of the JRB, so I'll recommend, or I'll move. Do we have a motion on the table?
We have a motion on the floor.
Can't do that then. But I would just suggest that the mayor then contact the JRB members within a week's time or by next Friday at the latest to suggest a time and a place.
The mayor can do that. We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
Mayor, just one quick second.
Would you fill out a speaker request form? I know who you are. You're Gino. You're the attorney for this thing. Let's
you.
not. I want to get to this motion first.
Okay.
Unless you're speaking to this motion.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's related, but it can wait. Go ahead.
Okay. Very good. It's been moved and seconded that we delay this. We move as a JRB with all members of the Joint Review Board to discuss some of the issues that have been brought up by other taxing partners. And we do that within that 30-day window, so that ultimately what we hope to have is within 30, or in about 30 days, we can meet moving forward on TIF 3. Does that pretty much capture the sense of what we want to do? Okay, roll call, please, on the motion.
Mr. Nicholas,
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes, Mayor Smith.
Yes. Motion approved. We will then continue this meeting to a time in about 30 days as a JRB. Between now and then, the city of DeKalb, and I will take this responsibility, will call all JRB partners together to fully discuss some of the points being made by other taxing partners. Does that make sense? Gino, did you want to say something, or?
I just wanted to understand for sure then, does this mean that the vote to adopt the TIF is going to be put on hold? That's within that 30-day window?
Oh, I think so,
and
yes.
And the public hearing then?
Well, the public hearing, I'd like to have, I've not had a chance to discuss this with any of our city council members. I think what I would recommend to city council on Monday night as we have that is, because of the action that we've taken today, that we move that public hearing beyond that 30-day period also.
And if
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
I think it would, but if legally, I think what you're going to find is that you can't just move it as easily. You may have to start the process anew. Maybe if we can get a commitment that if you can't move it, you recess it, the hearing, you open it, you recess it to a date out further, which you can do, and that way we wouldn't have to attend the meeting without first trying to come to a resolution on kind of some of these open items.
That would make more sense. Molly, did you want to say something? Oh, actually, I'm sorry, Dean.
I think we would concur with that recommendation. I think the easiest approach is to simply open and continue the meeting on the 10th.
and we can continue it. If we're looking at a 30-day extension here, we can continue it into the October timeframe for city council meetings.
Good.
And proceed in that fashion. And then the city would similarly, city can't take action to vote on creation of the TIF until that public hearing is concluded, so there wouldn't be any action presented with regard to that.
Thank you.
Whereas, Mayor, I've been known to take instructions very, very well, and I will see that that happens. Okay, that being the case, we've been asked to actually move forward, so I don't think we can discuss anything more under deliberation today. Is that correct?
We didn't have anything.
I'd just like to make a request that as people come forward with the questions that they have, that those questions and the answers that come are disseminated to all of us so that we can work with the information gathering that everybody's doing on their own.
And if you get something at the township, let all of us know. If we get something, we will let you know. And I would ask all of our taxing partners to do likewise. Yes.
Can we
Bill.
come back to my suggestion?
Sure.
Which is a possibility, and Jennifer kicked this off, that we hear from the mayor in about a week's time.
Yes.
So we have some kind of an idea what the timetable is going to be, and so we can anticipate a certain amount of information and set schedules and such. Okay.
We'll certainly do that. And I think we would be comfortable, would we not, to host those meetings right here? Okay. Mr. Hanson.
Kind of a related question, but since we're on hold for a little while, are you aware if the city council is contemplating any more TIF approval, any more TIF projects during this interim period?
No, I'm aware of nothing like that. The closest thing akin to that, Gary, would be the public hearing, which again, if I can follow instructions, will recess on Monday night. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting of the JRB.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion as to adjournment? Or are we continuing? Are we adjourning? What are we doing? Are we continuing this meeting, or
I think
technically are
because
we adjourning it?
We didn't identify the date and time yet. It would just be a motion to adjourn. And
Motion to adjourn.
re-motion.
We have that motion on the floor in a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? We are adjourned. Thank you.